Your volume's on mute.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to AltNews Tonight. I'm Jaron, and my co-host, helping to bring you the latest and greatest real news in a sea of fake news, is Nathan Stoltman from the channel Lift the Veil. Nathan, how are you?
Oh my God, I'm all right. Sorry, I think I screwed up your thing. I'm really sorry. I'm bad at that. Your audio comes all through the mic, doesn't it?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully everybody heard it. I saw it. I've done that before. Anyway, what it is. Let's not ruin the mood.
No, let's not.
It's good to see everybody. It's Tuesday, right?
It is Tuesday.
It's pizza day.
It's the 17th, I believe, of January.
Yeah.
2017. So how about it?
I'm excited.
Me too. Welcome to AltNews Tonight. We're going to be bringing you the news, giving you the need to know info, and breaking down the stories that we think deserve it. First up, I did want to cover, there's a couple people who are no longer with us. The notable deaths of the week. And last week we lost Tommy Alsop. You know who that is? On January 11th at age 85. Mostly known for his losing of the coin flip, and which actually ended up saving his life because he lost that coin flip to Richie Valens, who ended up joining Buddy Holly and Big Bopper on that flight that ended all three of their lives. And, there's actually rumors out there that those deaths were all hoaxes. Not sure if you have heard that before, but that is the rumor. And you have to research that, but rest in peace. And also passing away was the last man in the world to fake the world, or the last man to fake the world into believing that he went on the moon. That's Eugene Cernan, passed away January 16th, that's yesterday, age 82. That leaves 6 remaining astronauts who have supposedly lied to the world about landing on the moon. Aldrin, Bean, Scott, Young, Duke, and Schmidt are left. And, as I've said, the truth of the moon hoax will probably never come out until all of them are gone. That's, at least my opinion. Another thing that I thought was interesting, and have you heard about Wernher von Braun's tombstone, Nathan?
I haven't heard anything about his tombstone. I reported on him being a Nazi, but that's about it.
Yeah. His tombstone has Psalms 19:1 on it, which is just interesting for someone who's a, rocket scientist. But Eugene Cernan also left an interesting quote. He said, "There's too much purpose, too much logic. It's just too beautiful to have happened on accident. There has to be somebody bigger than you and somebody bigger than me. I mean this in a spiritual sense, not in a religious sense. There has to be a creator of this universe who stands above the religions that we ourselves created to govern our lives." So, and the last interesting thing about Cernan, do you happen to know the name of his book that he wrote in 1999? His name of his book was...
Are you asking your audience?
I'm asking you if you know, but I don't know if you know.
I don't know.
1999, he wrote the book The Last Man on the Moon. Isn't that weird that you would write that as the title of your book in 1999 unless you knew something like no one's ever going back to the moon? How do you know you're going to be? What if we would have put somebody on the moon in 2005?
Yeah, that is a weird thing for him to say. And the way he talks about God or his spirituality is very Freemason, like a higher power, a creator.
Right, the grand architect,
not necessarily. Right? Yeah, the architect. Mm-hmm.
So let's get on to the news. first, I thought it was funny. You did see Donald Trump have his little tirade with the CNN reporter. You saw that?
I want to see it, actually. I'm waiting for
Good.
you to play it for me. I don't know that I've seen it.
It's funny. I'm going to play it right now for you so you can
Yeah,
check
I'd
that
like to
out.
see
So
it.
let's see that.
President-elect, the tweet that you had this morning about are we living in Nazi Germany, what were you driving at there? What are you trying to tell the
I think
people?
it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, and by the way, we just found out I was coming down. Michael Cohen, Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohen.
Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are
is
attacking
terrible.
our news organization.
Your
Can
organization
you give us a
is
chance
terrible.
to
Let's
ask
go.
a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can
Quiet.
you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question? Can you
No,
give
I'm
us a
not gonna give you
question?
I'm not going to give you a
Can you
question.
state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
Go ahead.
can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President...
That is classic. You are fake news.
That is funny. That
Pretty
is
funny.
funny. Funny enough, Maxine Waters had something about Trump to say too. So on the topic of the fake dossier, I went through it on my show. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. I was going to do a separate thing about it. The dossier, apparently written by a British intelligence agent, appears to have been written by an American posing as a British intelligence agent, and it appears that that's pretty easy to deduce. So this thing it's so ridiculous that you almost think Trump set him up with it. What this news was based on. Now, as far as the reaction, it was great. That's what we like Trump for. Those are the kind of things he's good for.
Yeah, he's definitely, throwing him for a loop. No doubt about it that he's causing problems left and right. I mean, that's his job.
Did you vote?
I did not. How about you?
How did you feel? I abstained. How did you feel about the candidates? You saw my coverage.
I thought you did a good job. I certainly thought Hillary would have been the worst possible choice in the world. So, I think of Trump as being the better of the two options. He definitely is the wild card. So I think we're going to get to see something interesting. It's going to be different. I'm not sold on him yet that he's the answer. But I think he's anything's better than Hillary.
Yeah. Well, if anything, he's the question, right? Not the answer. I have no idea what he's going to do, but I like that he's a loose cannon. I think that's a good thing. And I like that the media is acting this way. I like that the establishment is thrashing like this. I think it's a good sign. I think we should expect to see this kind of behavior near the end before everything falls apart. So I think that's encouraging. I think it's discouraging that, I just want to see what's going on with his war with intelligence. Do you think there's a chance they might take him out? I mean, it is open warfare at this point, right?
I wouldn't put it past him. It's going to be interesting. Did you hear about the Project Veritas? Their latest uncovering.
I sent you the link. Yeah, I wondered if you were going to pull any clips from that.
Yeah, I did actually. I pulled just one clip. But basically, for those who don't know, Project Veritas basically uncovered another plot. This time to basically, the deplore ball is what they call it, the inauguration ball. That's the night before his inauguration, and they were going to use butyric acid, which is like a stink bomb. And then if that didn't work, they wanted to pull the fire extinguisher or fire sprinklers and get everybody removed from that building. So I actually will bring up that short part of that video, and we'll watch that.
Anti-fascist coalition.
The message has to be that, we do not recognize the city government either. If you try to close this down, we will look for your house, we will burn it, we will physically fight the police if they try to clear one of our places, we will go to war.
Interesting, this is at Comet Ping Pong, in case you didn't know.
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that should be a clue that Comet Ping Pong is what we think it is, that this is the kind of people that meet there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you would think they would stay the hell away from that place, but I guess not.
Well, this is what happens there. This is probably shot well, gosh, this was really recent, this investigation.
Really recent, yeah. It had to be
really recent because they're getting ready for, wow. This is amazing to me, Jaron. With as much as I'm into conspiracy theories or into understanding conspiracies, I would have never expected this. I shouldn't interrupt so people can see what it is, but I would have never expected this.
No, me neither. It's, I can't believe there's people like this that are out there and that brazen about it. So yeah, let's continue so people can see it here.
Early on, one of our journalists was sent an email inviting him to a planning meeting. The discussion centered around disrupting the Deploraball, a big pro-Trump inaugural ball scheduled the night before the inauguration.
I mean, it would be really interesting if we could stop them from having the Deploraball at all. Yeah.
It was at this meeting where we met Scott Green, Luke Kuhn, and Colin Dunn. They were very gung-ho and clearly well-versed in the dark arts of sabotage.
We already know what we're all there for, so we won't be, okay, so we don't have to use the word deplorable at all. Yeah. And things like that. So just in case there are yahoos in there.
Through emails, another meeting was set up at the infamous Comet Ping Pong Pizza Restaurant in Northwest Washington, D.C.
I was thinking of things that will ruin the evening, ruin their outfits, or otherwise make it impossible to continue with their plans, make sure they get nothing accomplished.
The Deploraball is being held here at the National Press Club in downtown Washington, D.C. The plan set off butyric acid stink bombs, forcing everyone to evacuate the premises.
If you had a freaking pint of butyric acid, I don't care how big the building is, it's closed and it's staying closed for a while.
And this stuff is it's very efficient. It's very, very smelly. It lasts a long time, and a little of it goes a long way.
If you repeated the original plan, we could pour that same stuff. Then I can break the cans with a plunger, some stiff rubber bands, and a safety pin thing. So all you got to do is pull the pin and press the plunger, and the whole can discharges.
This is the way we have to brainstorm and think of what can we do that will accomplish the mission.
So that is bad enough. That stuff is nasty enough that it will spread.
It will get into the HVAC system and hit the whole building.
The best possible location to get to it is the air intake grill for the entire HVAC.
Yeah.
The actions could constitute a violation of.
So yeah, it also mentions that that's breaking the law and possible 5 years of jail time for that.
Yep. Well, and the thing is these guys exposed the Democratic hacking of the election, the real rigging of the election, way out in the open, where there were crimes committed there too. And that's one of the things I think got lost in the shut with all the stuff going on around the election. I mean, that second video they made about the election fraud, that was mind-blowing stuff. Talking about buying cars and registering them to dummy companies so that people can be driven to polling places. That kind of got forgotten with everything else. And that, there were real crimes there. And this one too, I mean, wow, I can't, and they're the anti-fascist league or something. Some of the people in the video, they'll say, oh, this is what fascists do. This is what we have to do to stop fascism,
which is go out and actually do illegal activity and to throw a wrench
Yeah.
into people's plans. And yeah, that's crazy. And I like what the guy says at the end of that video, which is we have no problem with people protesting legally. It's just when you're, setting off fire sprinklers and you're throwing stink bombs, you're breaking the law.
Well, it's not a protest. It's not a protest anymore at that point.
Right.
I mean, it's violent
It's-
insurrection.
It's terrorism. I mean, that's the way you can look at it.
Really.
So, did you have something newsworthy you wanted to touch on before I can go into the vaccines?
You know what? I think I'm trying to think if there was something else. A lot of things have been happening in the news, but I think we covered the things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I saw that. Robert.
Oh, I have something.
Shoot.
Hold on, Jaron. Hold on. I have something.
Hit it.
If so, you tell me if this is a story. I'm sorry. I stopped you in the beginning of your story, but you asked me.
It wasn't a good one.
There are ads on Craigslist right now. Like if you go to Craigslist right now, SF Bay area, and go to jobs and search Trump, you'll see paying jobs right now to protest Trump, and along with memes and stuff that go along with it. And I think I want our people to get those jobs, and tell us what's going on.
Wow.
So that's one thing.
And they're actual.
I was going to report on it, but
they're paying jobs.
yeah, go to Craigslist. Let's do it live, real time. I was going to scoop you and make a video before our show because I thought it was cool. But then sometimes I get excited about stuff and it's not as big a story. But the Washington Times, the alternative to the Washington Post, a conservative paper, published something that says, talking about Backpage ads. Funny enough, I mentioned Backpage on my show. Backpage ads paying to protest Trump. So go to Craigslist, go to jobs, and just hit the big jobs thing at the top.
And we're going to be in San Francisco?
Yeah, all SF Bay area is what we'll end up doing. But go ahead and go to jobs. They'll let you. Yeah, it's there. So just put in Trump. See what comes up. Okay, take a look.
Yeah, stop Trump rollbacks, $14 to $18 an hour. Fight against Trump's environmental policies, $450 to $650 a week. Wow.
Yeah. So that's a story. Sorry, I'm glad I had a
Absolutely.
chance to bring it up.
Let's see what these ones
Yeah,
say.
click on one of them. They have like memes and everything. Look.
We will fight Trump's anti-environmental agenda. Join us. Stand up for clean water and against corporate power. Hiring passionate callers to talk to our members about these issues and motivate them to take action. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. LA's got a few ads. New York has got some ads. Seattle didn't seem to have any. But I looked around a little bit. There's a few out there. Actually, SF Bay Area's got kind of the most stuff. It's interesting. It's like fight him on his environmental policies. He hasn't done anything yet. And he hasn't even really suggested anything. So they really, man.
He's not even in office yet.
He hasn't done, and he hasn't the racist thing about Trump. Like he's racist against black people. Well, okay. Besides his housing stuff, what has he ever? I mean,
did you hear that he? And I don't know. This could be fake news. That he tweeted, or not tweeted, but he messaged Putin about not getting through the end of the week or something. That he thought he was going to be taken out?
No, I didn't see that. Did you see the fake news about him? Supposedly his first meeting as president was going to be in Reykjavik with Putin personally.
Yeah, I did see that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
And that wasn't real news in
Nope.
the end. That was fake.
Nope,
But no,
fake news is
the one
everywhere.
you were referring to, that he wasn't going to make it through the week. Trump said that to Putin. He tweeted it to him or something.
That's what it said. I didn't have time to look it up, but that's what I heard. So who knows? That's the kind of thing they keep putting out there now, and they're going to try and, discredit anybody who's actually putting out real news. That's the problem.
Right. Well, that's why we look forward to being discredited. At least I do.
Yeah,
Hopefully
it's coming.
Jen does too.
Well, it's coming. That's
Because if you tell the truth, that's when they try to discredit you. So just to wrap up those ads, if anyone lives in those cities, just put in Trump, Washington, D.C. too. Get a job. Get off your lazy bum if you got nothing to do.
Yeah,
I got more important things to do.
Go
Personally.
find out what they're doing.
I don't live in one of the areas. Find out what they're up to. Send us some tips. Give us some insider information. They say you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but we can get around that. We protect our sources, right, Doshi?
He's not. He's missing.
We protect him. He's here. Just
Where is
not
he?
on camera today.
That's the.
He's over here. Do you want to see him?
Yes, we do. The producer of the show is.
Producer
hiding.
of this side. You see him?
Up.
All the way over here?
Yep, he's busy at work filing papers.
Yeah, he's doing good. He's
good.
doing well, I should say.
Oh,
All right,
I didn't have your camera on. You're gonna have to show us again. I'm such a
No. Oh man.
I know. I'm so
there
bad.
he is.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, and you got him zoomed in on your side. Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Yep, that's the guy.
People would have been really
He's
upset
cute.
if they didn't.
He really is.
see
He
that.
really is he's an asset for the show. What do you think?
He's a little bit obese.
You think he's obese, huh? Wow.
Yeah, I think he's eating just a little too much. He's a little
You
fluffy.
think so?
Big boned.
He's still pretty. Oh, okay. All right. Maybe we'll put him on a bit of a diet.
Just take him for a walk. That's all.
Maybe we'll put him on a bit of a diet. He seems healthy. He zooms around the house. You know, he still jumps up on stuff, but
Bites
I'll
cords and bites your hands and yep. I've seen it all.
He eats donuts. You know, we both like donuts.
That's probably has a lot to do with his weight problem.
I don't know. He doesn't eat a lot, and I'm losing weight. We're on the same diet. I just had to get smaller size, so and attribute it to donuts.
I keep getting a warning over here about encoding overloaded. Just so you know.
Oh yeah. Okay. In the chat, they were telling you there was a problem.
Oh, is
but they said it cleared up, and it looked like your What are you getting on your end? Something overload?
Encoding overloaded. Consider turning down video settings or using a faster encoding something.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you can change that midstream or not, but I can tell you how to do it.
Well, we will get better by
What do you want to do?
show. Well, let's see what happens here. Not sure.
You might have your bit rate turned up too high, but it might make you
in-
stop streaming to change it. That's the only thing.
Got you. Maybe I'll pop off this. Maybe it's because these videos are playing as the bottom thirds. I'm going to remove that. Yeah, there we go. See if that helps at all. Maybe that's the problem. So sorry, guys. We are learning as we go. It'll get better each time. You know? Yeah.
Are you seeing it on the? I'm sorry. You're seeing it on the YouTube side.
I actually don't have that open. I just am looking at the bottom. I'm getting warnings here, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right.
So I wanted to also cover a little bit about the vaccine skeptic, which is Robert Kennedy Jr., who Trump has picked to take the lead on a group that's going to look into vaccines and whether or not they cause autism. And of course, this sent people through the roof. Your people that love to yell anti-vaxxer, and this is the big going thing now. Is whatever the mainstream media puts out there is what people just parrot. They don't think. For me, and Nathan, you tell me what I'm missing here. If I want to vaccinate my kids and other people don't want to vaccinate theirs, why would I have such a problem with that? Considering my kids are going to be vaccinated. And I mean, where is everybody so upset if they think that their kids are going to end up getting? I mean, nobody's died from measles in 20 years, yet you've got these. It's crazy. Go ahead.
Well, I would say that they're getting the wrong information, or at least that they're listening to the wrong information because they're being told that the only way to prevent these things, these debilitating things from happening is for everyone to be vaccinated. And the thing is so we go back to why vaccines are good or have been regarded that way. I guess you'd have to go back to things like polio and stuff where we were able to eradicate illnesses of debilitating types of illnesses. Do we agree that actually happened? So do we agree? And I don't know because I'm not a vaxxer. I don't know the vaccines ins and outs.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a few problems with them, which we can get to, that I think are good ways to talk to people who don't understand the vaccine situation. But do we agree that they do work for some things and have been useful in the past?
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think that our bodies are built to self-vaccinate basically, and by bringing those on too early, you're going to cause problems. And I mean, you just need to look at the upgrades of the increase in autism to see that clearly it has something to do with these vaccines. I think they're giving too many, too young. That's the way I look at it. And I have a huge problem with the companies. I'll actually bring up this browser window here. Let's just look at Merck here. This is the kind of company that should be gone, should be out of business. We should never have to see them again. And this is the kind of thing that just infuriates me, because if you've got, say you're a mom and pop VHS rental place in some town somewhere, I mean, you can literally, if you got in trouble, if you injured one kid on your sidewalk, or you did something wrong to one person, or broke a law, your whole business is gone. Your whole business is done. You'll never work in this town again, kind of thing. Well, let's look at what Merck's gone through. In the early 2000s, they've got some issues with suggesting the company had sought to suppress evidence of safety problems with arthritis medication in the Vioxx. The company ended up paying billions of dollars to governments, to individuals to resolve thousands of lawsuits. In the mid-'70s, they had 24 drug producers that sued or were sued by a large number of women who said that they suffered from vaginal cancer from one of these medications. And you can go down this list, and emails and documents reported the Merck management appeared to have known about the risks of Vioxx for years and maneuvered to keep the information from derailing its blockbuster products. So you've got people at the very top of this company who are fully fully know what they're doing to people, that they're hurting people, they're causing cancer, and they are trying to skirt around the tests. And again, we've got this company that tests their own drug. That's how these drugs get out on the market, is they put it through these tests and they say, oh yeah, we got 95% rate. Here we've got the CEO, Raymond Gilmartin, resigned. And then in the first of those individual lawsuits to go to trial, a jury in Texas took 1 hour in 2005 to decide against the company, awarding $253 million in damages. In subsequent trials, Merck won some, lost others. In 2007, the company agreed to pay $4.85 billion to settle 27,000 lawsuits. So, I mean, you're talking about 27,000 people that you've injured. In 2011, Justice Department announced that Merck would pay $950 million to resolve criminal charges and federal civil claims relating to the marketing of Vioxx. Keep going down. In 2009, Merck insuring Plow agreed to pay $41 million to settle class action lawsuits, charging that companies withheld unfavorable results for the clinical trial of the cholesterol drug Voitrin, Zetia, don't know those drugs. Then they agreed to pay $58 million to settle more charges in 24 states. I mean, look how long this goes. How many times do we have to keep having these? 52 million, 435 million. 2008 agreed to pay the federal government $650 million. In 2011, 47 million. I mean, this is the kind of thing that just makes me disgusted. How do we allow a company to stay in business, whereas my wife and I sell books? If we got fined $1 million, or if we got fined $10,000, we'd be done. We're out of business. Yeah. It's over. Yeah. But just because these guys have all the power in the world, they are able to just keep hurting people and keep. I looked up their third quarter results for this year. They made $9 billion. So, I mean, it's just.
I mean, I'd heard they had almost a $5 billion fine on that list. One thing I want to know before, and I have plenty to say about big pharma, but one thing I want to know is when they pay a government fine, and that's what it says, government fine. And for example, like Deutsche Bank has to pay a fine, Volkswagen's paying the government a fine.
Right.
Where does that money go? Does it go back to the people who actually suffered the loss, the people who own the vehicles, that's what I want to know, because you hear about these fines like the BP oil spill, the BP oil spill hoax, I should say. I want to talk about that at some point. But for example, they paid billions of dollars supposedly. Who did that go to? I know some of it went to the residents who lost income, or businesses that lost fishing income. But that's one thing I really want to know about, because federal government does, that means it's going to pay for what? We don't get services really from the federal government anymore.
And
So
I don't remember exactly what the fine was that Bank of America got hit with. But it was huge, and they were supposed to give it back to the people that had been hurt by this whole mortgage crisis. We lost our house. We never saw a penny. And I think it was $18 billion that Obama fined them, and that was supposed to be money that would go right back into these. They just took our house. So I mean, where did that money go?
Crazy.
It's just
That's crazy.
insane. So what else did you have to say about Big Pharma? You said you had something to say about that.
Well, I was just going to say, I've said before, my mom passed, and she was at the end of 2015, and she was the type of person who was looking for a cure in pills or whatever, anything, rather than another way of looking at it. And Western medicine promotes that idea. Her doctors, promoted that idea that there was some combination of drugs that was going to make her better. And to be honest, they probably made her worse, and maybe resulted in her passing. So it's, people have to take responsibility for one thing, because I told her that. and one of the things, the real killer, these painkillers, I was hooked on painkillers. I was taking them for fun, but it ended up being a real problem. And then a doctor prescribed them to me for some reason. But they know those don't help pain. They know they make pain worse. The longer as you take them over time, they just change your minimum so that you just have to take them to feel normal again. They know that, and those things are killing people. And the other thing they know is that marijuana or cannabis helps reduce people's dependence on those types of anxiety drugs like benzodiazepines and opioids. And that's why there's this campaign against cannabinoids, for example. All of it is against small businesses like you said. Only big businesses are allowed to survive. And then when they pay these fines, if it's just going to the governments that are supporting them, it's all staying in the same cabal, the same group. I forgot exactly what I was saying, but it's an attack on small business. So it's the same type of thing they're doing with everything else. The war on drugs, the war on crime. Everything is about making sure that the monopoly stays in control. The powers that be.
This is an interesting site here. If anybody wants to check it out, it's called corp-research.org. But I saw some things in here today I couldn't believe. I mean, this is just a list of every company that you can pretty much imagine. There's a search engine too. You can search any company, but you can just go to any of these. Let's go to something like, here's Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. Pull up these corporations, and you're going to get what's called a rap sheet, which is going to go through basically when they started and talk to you about all the different, lawsuits that they've been hit with, the fines that they've had to pay the government. Here we got bribery and questionable payments for Northrop Grumman. And we got Lockheed here, that they've got all these environmental and product safety. There's so many companies I saw in here today that have been fined for, basically throwing their trash out in rivers. And I mean, it's just disgusting. This is the kind of thing where this is where you want to go if you want to find out if you're going to be backing a certain company, because if this is the kind of business that they're going to do, they're going to make money hand over fist and then throw their trash in the rivers. I mean, this is the kind of companies that should be gone, long gone. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, and thanks for putting up Lockheed Martin. They're awful. They're tied into all kinds of bad stuff. I see them all through my research. Tell me the name of that website again.
Yeah, it's corp-research.org. And they've got
there's .org. Okay.
They got like a violation tracker, and Dirt Diggers is like this group that goes and tries to find out all these, but the corporate rap sheets I think is the best section of this website. And there was a search too where you can actually pull up and search a company. I searched CVS Caremark today and saw everything I already knew. I was a store manager for them for 4 years, and basically when I was there, there were certain laws about selling PSE medication, which was what they use for methamphetamines, but it's found in cold and cough medicines. And so there was laws that we had to abide by, but the company didn't really ever push it. We were supposed to get people's ID and all, there's this whole list of things you have to do, but they just kind of told us, okay, well, just kind of let it go, whatever. Well, after about a year of getting away with that, they were fined $91 million, and they just write a check and move on. They don't care. It's nothing to them. They've got a separate account that is for lawsuits like these, and so it just makes you, again, if that they're selling a medication that is being used by people to create methamphetamines. If my wife and I sold the tiniest little baggie of methamphetamines to somebody, we're done. We're in jail. We don't get to continue in business making millions and traveling on yachts like they do. And that's what's absolutely sickening to me and look at all these companies. There's so many these big name companies, Walmart. I saw Walmart was fined, some crazy amount for trying to get around tax laws. It's like they're making so much money, and you have to also cheat your taxes. What are you going to do? You're going to make, $13 billion instead of $14 billion because you actually paid your taxes like you're supposed to. Just sickening.
Yeah, well, they don't mind getting caught, and we should get back to vaccines too. To the reason we started on this path, which is that it's become big business clearly. And there seem to be things manufactured in order to create vaccines. For example, the Zika crisis, which you may notice is completely gone. It never existed in the first place, apparently. Right. I think the shrunken heads was totally a psyop. I think it was to make the Brazil Olympics look bad. Because they threatened ISIS attacks too, for the Brazil Olympics. And I think the U.S. Also had something to do with the president being displaced there. How did I get into that? What was I talking about? Well, I was
talking about vaccines.
Oh, well, I was talking about vaccines. Okay. So they come up with Zika. Thank you very much. So they have Zika. And, I don't know. I'm covered on my face, Jaron. I'm looking at myself, and there's something.
That's my little
there we go.
Bookmarks.
I'm back. There I am. So, vaccines now, not only is there a possibility that they're creating diseases. For example, Zika was first caught by the Rockefeller Foundation in 1947. And now all of a sudden it's been this fairly innocuous disease, but Rockefeller has the original patent for the original sample they pulled out of the monkey. And then you have an incentive to make vaccines. You have the money, right, from governments, which is from us, and that to treat something that isn't a problem. So that's the one thing. And then the other thing is like when you get a flu vaccine, a lot of people still get the flu. So I would think even the regular people who are saying you should get vaccines, people still get sick, and I would think that, and that's reason enough. And sometimes they're getting sick because of the damn vaccine. That happens with the flu vaccine all the time. So, and their recommendations change. They had an up the nose vaccine for a couple of years. Turns out it's 6 times less effective than the shot vaccine, which I don't think the shot vaccine is that effective. So I'm assuming it actually caused more flus than if you hadn't gotten it at all. So to me, that's definitely a thing. And then, the autism link, I got to see my shrink is into autism. I got to see if I can figure out what his point of view is on vaccines and autism. I don't want him to think I'm too crazy, but it takes me back to something else you said, which is that we're made perfect for this world. We're made to be able to live forever and fight disease and all that stuff. As long as our minds are right and we're healthy, we're made to be right in this world. And in that sense, it doesn't matter what we do, vaccine, it's not going to help. We need to be healthy in our minds and our bodies, and that prevents disease. Although antibiotic, even though I think that I'm on medication, it helps me for whatever reason. I've been on all kinds that hasn't helped me. It's been bad. But there are things that are good. So it's a delicate balance, but the information that people are getting on the other side is incorrect. I think,
absolutely. I mean, nobody who's standing up and saying, no, everybody should take vaccines, you can bet your bottom dollar that none of those people have had somebody in their family, being a healthy child at, age, 3 months and growing fine and growing at the right rate. And then all of a sudden you take them in for vaccines and they're never the same. They start having seizures or you name it. This is the most recent lawsuit that's going up against Merck, who is the one who makes the MMR vaccine, which is the measles, mumps, and rubella. And the federal case is alleging fraud in vaccine testing. These two scientists came forward, whistleblowers, and basically said that they were told to fake the results of the tests, that they were supposed to come in at a 95% level. They came in way lower, so they came out and were told that they were to, basically fraud these results. And then they were told if they alerted the FDA, that they would be thrown in jail. That's what they were threatened with. So when you've got, this is the problem with science, is when it's funded and when these guys' careers are in the hands of big business, big pharma, well, you're not getting real science. What you're getting is fraud masked as real science, and you've got these, I'll call them brain dead, but they're the repeaters, the parrots, the people who can't think for themselves. They would, heaven forbid you have to actually read some studies or look into whether or not vaccines have a tie into autism, but they don't. They just simply repeat. They think that that movie Vax that came out, they think that the scientist who, published that paper years ago is a fraud because he's been discredited. And this is something I see all the time. People don't understand the idea of debunked. You need to look at where that information is coming from. And this is something I just don't see people having the ability to do anymore, is to think for themselves. They just listen to mainstream news, and as soon as mainstream news says, nope, vaccines have no tie to autism, then they just yell and scream that. And, it's something that doesn't even affect their life necessarily. Again, if they have their kids and they want to vaccinate their kids, that's fine. But that's not the problem. They want everybody vaccinated. They think it, anti-vaxxer, right? That's the big word now. You're an anti-vaxxer, which simply means you care about your kids enough to want to maybe spread them out, wait a couple of years, or it's just
the vaxxers. The vaxxers are the ones in favor of vaccinating. Then is that correct? I don't even know the words.
Yeah, I don't know if they call them vaxxers, but they, anti-vaxxer is what anybody who, like myself, I wouldn't, if Miss and I had a child, I certainly would not vaccinate that child. It's just,
right.
I'll take my chances. If my child dies from measles, mumps, or rubella, which would be the first time in 20 years that anybody's ever died from that, I'll take that chance rather than taking a perfectly healthy baby and overloading their system. You're basically, that's what vaccines are. You're giving them the disease. You're actually giving them the live pathogens. Mm-hmm. So, is that the smart thing to do, or is it better to let your body do those things on its own in time? Now, again, I tend to go back and forth of whether or not we actually needed vaccines, 100 years ago. Did it actually get rid of polio? Would it still be around if it wasn't for vaccines? How do you feel about that? I'm not sure I have a solid position. I can only speak from where I am today, and maybe that's what makes it so easy is, everyone else is vaccinated and those diseases are for the most part non-existent now, so I don't think that you need to vaccinate anymore. But again, am I just basing that off of the current amount of these diseases in the public? I don't know. Right.
Well, that's the difficulty, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that, oops, I'm echoing a little. The difficulty is that we don't know. And somebody, if you say, for example, you're not going to vaccinate your kid, then somebody else on the other side is going to say, well, then but you don't have that choice because you're endangering my kid, right? That's what they're going to say, at least. But if their kid is vaccinated, they're not supposed to be endangered.
Right. That was my point. Is that I don't get the part, is that if they felt so strongly that vaccines were so, concrete that they would prevent the drug or prevent the disease, then why do they care that I don't want to vaccinate my child? I mean, are they looking years and years into the future and thinking that this is going to come back and take out, thousands? Or is it just simply because the mainstream news, calls them, says to yell at anti-vaxxer and that they're anti-science, and anti-vaxxers are also anti-climate change. And, it's that same, narrative that they keep putting out, that it just shocks me that people are not capable of thinking for themselves and looking at the data. I mean, I've looked at the data as far as, climate change goes, and I've seen NASA doctor numbers. I mean, once you see that, same thing once I see that Merck has lied and cheated and fooled people, why would I then trust them when they say that the vaccines are needed or safe?
Right.
They've already lied to me.
Look who pays for them. It's the Microsoft guy. I'm sorry. It's the big foundations, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, that pay for these vaccines that they then ship all over the world. And it's not even in our country that it's so bad. They force them on third world populations, saying it's going to cure them of something. And who knows what it's doing with the rumors of eugenics. And the Gates Foundation is what I was going to say, is that's a lot of the people who fund these vaccines, and then they get governments to pay for them. So they're just getting us to pay for them and then forcing them on us and mandating that we take them. So it's takes away personal freedom, which you don't want. We shouldn't be forced to do anything. If we have a public education system, you shouldn't be forced to put something in your body to use that public education system. Otherwise, we don't want to pay for it,
Right.
That's the truth of it. And the thing is people need to think differently. You said that people no longer are able to think critically. Well, and it's sort of like people say we're in a post-truth era. And I say the opposite, is that people have never been able to think critically. And we're getting there, that all of this stuff happening now. And so obviously that people are capable of thinking critically. They just forgot, or they never knew about it before. And that's what we're showing people they can do. And it starts with just asking questions about stuff like this, because there are questions, but the only way we're going to find answers is if everybody's asking questions and not just accepting what they believe or what they naturally believe or what they're told. It requires a different way of thinking, but I think we're going to get there. And on that topic, Jaron, I can skip over my other thing because I might talk about it on my show, or we can. Do you want to try to take calls today or not?
No, probably. Let's take them on Thursday.
Okay. All right, cool.
Thursday we'll take a couple calls at the end of the show, so that would be good. We'll have that set up, and I'll figure out why I'm getting warnings on here, and because if I add another thing on here, the whole thing's going to shut down.
If you add another what?
Well, I'd have to add another window like Skype or something. Or are you talking about your phone?
Oh, no. You would just invite them to this Hangout. You would just invite them to this, and then they can talk. You can just put the link in the chat. Or they could call you on your phone. Oh, I see. You're saying if they call you on your phone, it'll
No, if
blow
I
up
did
your
Skype,
computer?
Skype would be another window open. But We'll play with it and see.
They can do it through Google Hangouts, but I just slowed down the show. But I just wanted to know if you wanted to do it so we could announce it. But we can do it through Google Hangouts, and we can do it on Thursday too.
Yeah, let's try that on Thursday. But yeah, just hopefully people start looking into things, because I see this. I don't know what you would call it. It's just it's a new way of thinking where people no longer seem to want to research things for themselves. They want science to tell them the answers. They want scientists to speak on their behalf. And the problem is, like I said, the scientists are bought and paid for. All you need to do is look at this website, which is the Human Resources and Services Administration of the United States. This is where you go for the vaccine injury compensation program. They've got a whole program for it and actual courts, and this is all because of the amount of lawsuits that are coming forward. And, a while back, and I don't know the year, but these drug companies were able to stay away from ever being, they were supposed to stay away from ever being prosecuted. So it's weird that the government...
For vaccines.
Right, because they said, hey, no, that you guys are saying we need them. And it's a monopoly, too, whether people see it or not. Like Merck is the only one who makes the MMR. There's nobody else who makes that. So They can charge whatever they want for it. They can put whatever they want in it. They do their own testing. I mean, I just don't know how many times we need to get screwed by these companies. I mean, how are people yelling and screaming, calling people anti-vaxxers when I just went through a laundry list of criminal offenses that this company is responsible for? So aren't humans smart enough to see that and then say, well, you know what, yeah, vaccines may be important, but this particular company that's pushing them and has a monopoly on that is hurting people. They had a problem with Vioxx. They caused 43,000 women to be sick, cervical cancer, stomach cancer, these things. So when do humans realize that these companies are out hurting other humans and stop just depending on the fact that, well, they're doctors, well, they're scientists, so they must be right, and these crazy conspiracy theorists have to be wrong? I just don't know when we're going to have people flip over to the other side and realize what they've done. Although I do agree with you, it is coming. It's coming more and more every day. I'm seeing people who are waking up to what we've seen for years, at least, for me, 3-4 years. So I do see people finally waking up. I think they just took it too far. They've hurt people too much. They've stolen too much money. They've, 9/11 was a disaster for them. It didn't come out right. Didn't do what they wanted it to do. So I don't know. I think it is going to come. It's just when. I keep asking, when is it going to come? When are people going to wake up? But
soon.
Yeah.
Sooner than you think. Sooner than you think. I think people have to have faith that if we're on the right path and doing the right thing, that things are going to seem like they're getting worse and worse and more dangerous until it seems like it's right up at your door, and that is a sign that things are about to change. And you just have to have faith that if you stay on the right course and you're trying to bring light, to this world, right? Spreading information, that we're going to get there. So that I've been thinking that lately. So.
Well, I like your positive attitude. That's definitely the way to go at it.
Well, I have faith. Things are going to be all right, and as long as I do that, then in that version of reality, we all get to, live forever in a new kind of paradigm, a totally new way of thinking, the truth, the actual truth era.
Now, you were going to talk a little bit about, if we want to finish up with this, that, a lot of people are worried that as we grow in population and as we move forward, that there's going to be less and less, jobs available. And what will people do for income? What will they do? Because the way I see it already is we already have a issue in this country where there's too many middlemen. In the jobs that we have now, there's so many people that have worthless jobs.
Absolutely.
They're not needed, but the way that the country runs is off of an economy that is built off this whole idea of jobs. So I know you were going to talk a little bit about that. How would you start that?
It's a complicated topic, and I've been wanting to bring it up because even people on our side and people I know who are doing the same thing we're doing, say people are going to need jobs. And I just wanted to break down what a job is and why people do a job and why we have money and what money is, because you do a job because it adds value and then you get something of value for it, and the whole reason for money is, so in the simplest economy, let's say every person provides everything for their family unit, let's say. So they grow their food and they do just the basics for survival. Mm-hmm. Well, eventually one family or group has too much stuff and more of one thing, more of one thing, and this is an Austrian economics idea, is that you have diminishing value the more of one thing you have. So then you want to trade it. And you start to trade things, and eventually you start trading a representation of a thing, mm-hmm. rather than a bunch of oranges. You you'd use a bit of metal, for example. So that's kind of how money develops, and that's how it moves around through trade. Now, jobs, doing something and getting paid for it, getting some value for it, means you're adding some value. You're doing something that's required. Now, if there are fewer jobs available, then the work that used to get value for doing is no longer valuable. And you need to find another way to add value to your universe and be compensated in something of value at the same time. So it's a whole different way of thinking, because if you think about a job, they've become very inefficient. We spend a lot of time commuting. We spend not enough time thinking and doing productive things for ourselves, exercising and so forth, and spending time with our family. We spend all kinds of money on healthcare, childcare that we could be providing ourselves. I'm sorry, healthcare is a specific thing, but childcare, education, things that we could actually do ourselves or within a community, probably in a superior way with much, much less waste. And so again, going back to having a job, well, in order to have a job, sometimes you need childcare. Then you need to have the kid going to school, and you might have to pay for that if you want it to be reasonable. You have to pay for your car. You might not even need a car otherwise. You have to make your car payment, your gas payment, your insurance payment. So let's say you don't have that job anymore. Well, what if you can eliminate childcare, education, car, insurance for your car? What if all those things go away? That's as if you earned all that money. So in other words, when you're doing your job and have to have all those things you wouldn't need otherwise, you're not really you're not getting any value for your work. Most of it is being wasted to these monopolies that control the things we need, like energy, food, etc. So in terms of a job, what I did is I quit mine, and I wanted to do something that provides more value for the way I see the world developing, where I see information being incredibly valuable. That's why I changed careers. I think, and what I was doing, selling exotic cars, I think is of zero value in this new future, which is, why I said, okay, I'm not going to, if you're on a path you don't see yourself on indefinitely or in a few years, or you envision yourself on another path eventually, quit, change right now. That's my advice. Because what's the point, if you're not going to try to do what you want to do? But again, you need dollars because you're providing something of value and getting compensated in something that will buy you something. But if that's no longer the case, then you have to start, thinking about how your time could be used differently, how you can save money that is being skimmed by these other forces, in taxes or otherwise. Not suggesting break the law, but
yeah. And I actually think that you would be surprised. We did the same thing, that I quit my job at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. And, I was making, close to six figures. And we immediately went from that to, first year of our bookstore, what were we at? $20,000, probably. And, but you'd be surprised when you get rid of your frivolous payments and you get rid of the things that you were, the commute to work, you get rid of DirecTV, you get rid of all these little things that you used to just throw money at. We felt like we were almost living the same life, that it wasn't drastic. It wasn't like we were poor. But we did the same thing. I quit because when CVS took over Long's Drugs, they were a corporate entity that didn't care about the people, didn't care about customers, didn't care about the employees, didn't want thinkers for store managers. They wanted monkeys. They wanted you to simply respond to the the work list and the emails in a very machine kind of way. And I just said, this is not where I want to be. And it was, the hardest decision I'd probably ever made, because, 15 years with one company, or, that merged, but with one company, one job, and to really take that step was the biggest scare of my life, especially since we got married, or we bought our house March of 2011, got married in November of 2011, and I quit my job in December of 2011. So pretty
wow.
pretty eventful.
Someone must have been stoked.
Yeah, yeah. She was real happy. She's like, "I'm glad I married you. You're a real winner." But
yeah, it's pretty funny.
We've gotten through it, and it has changed us completely. I was so asleep, I could not see anything. I was these people I'm getting mad at now, saying, "When are these people going to wake up? When are they going to roll over the other side of the rock?" That was me. I had no idea. I was oblivious to the world. I was up at 5 o'clock in the shower, in my car, listen to sports radio on the way to work, get out, do my job, come home at 7 o'clock at night, eat dinner, go to bed. I did not have a brain. There was nothing moving up there. Pretty sad when you look back and think about it, because now you look at that as kind of wasted time. I really wish I would have gotten started on, selling books or doing the things that we do now, because you feel like you're actually contributing to people much more. And that's something I wanted to, ask everybody to do, to please support small businesses, support the mom and pops out there, support, independent bookstores and things like that, because they want to put everything digitally, which should scare you, because if, books all become digital and one day something gets fried, all of that written work can be gone, just because people put it all on. I mean, if they really cared enough and satellites were real and orbits were real, there would be all of our information on a hard drive that was orbiting the Earth in case something happened, that would come back every 5 years and drop it off, in case they're not doing anything like that, because they probably want all that information gone. So when you see these big pushes for Gutenberg and things like that, I'm always nervous of, what are you doing with the books once you've scanned them? Great, you have them all digitally stored now. What happens if we've got some infrastructure breakdown to where we can't retrieve that information? I think books are important because they're kind of our last connection to the past. And we've seen some crazy things. We've seen books where, the American version has a different ending than the original version. It'd be a whole different chapter at the end of a book, different names, and they're telling a different story for each people. The American version tells a story where the person went back to work and did what they were supposed to do, when the real story is actually about somebody quitting their job and becoming free and realizing the joys that come with that. And they just completely change the end of the book. And once the original's gone, what do you have left? You just have these digital copies, which can be changed in a heartbeat. Talk about changing history. How hard is it?
That's right.
How hard is it if it's on just some little thumb drive?
Well, we've heard of books changing too, but I think there's something to that. I think there's something to having books, having physical things, even eating locally, anything that brings you closer in either physically or spiritually to the source of the material, I think is a real thing. And not only that, as far as spending money locally, it's funny, you'll find, and as you go down this path, as you start being less connected to material things, and you realize you have more money not working the same way. How should I say it? Sorry, I'm getting an echo.
Oh, sorry.
It's making me crazy.
That's what's making
Are
you
you
crazy?
hearing it on your end?
Sometimes I hear it, but
it's not bad. Okay, if it's going over the broadcast, fine. Then I'm fine.
I am still getting warnings though, so I don't know whatever that does to it.
Yeah, no, now it's fine.
Okay.
Gosh, I lost my train of thought though. Oh, as far as supporting small businesses, yeah, another thing to do, just think about where you're shopping. Think about who you're giving your money to, and think about how much of that money is going to go to that person you're talking to and the person that owns the place that you're in right there. So like, I like to go to Subway because I've seen the owner at the Subway store, and I like to tip. I really like to tip because I know those dollars are going to go right in somebody's pocket who's right around here. And that is what builds, your local economy. And so whenever you shop, like you showed Walmart's problems and all the big retailer problems, realize when you give money there, just like giving it to Amazon, you're giving money to the Washington Post, you're giving money to war propaganda. Right. It's okay to do it because there aren't that many choices, but think about it and realize there might be alternatives, because that's the way that things like what you're watching right now, at least, are going to exist. And I should do my commercial, huh?
Commercial time.
Jaron, my commercial for how to support this stuff.
Absolutely.
which is
Here, I can play a little
Jaron
commercial
runs
thing.
ads.
Here.
By the way, what's that?
Here's a commercial.
Oh, I have one.
No, just it's a little intro.
me see.
There you go. Now it's your turn.
Oh, that's great. Oh, you gave me an intro. Gosh, thank you. So we do this not just because we love it, but because we believe it provides value. I actually feel compelled to do it. Jaron does it just because he loves it. And Jaron, we want him to, he runs this show. He had the idea for this show, the vision for it, this particular show. And he can run ads. So I'm letting him keep all that. People who know me know that I tell you I can't run ads on my channel. You might see them once in a while because I play copyrighted stuff, but it's for them. and I make my money based on value people think they get from it and what they donate. I don't make enough to pay the bills right now, not even close. So don't think I'm fleecing people, but I want to provide value, and I want and it's up to you how to pay that back or show that appreciation. And believe me, it goes right back into everything you see. And I don't spend a lot of money on stuff, to be honest. So that's that. And that's on topic of supporting what you believe in. For example, this software we're using, hopefully Jaron's giving them a few bucks. There's some amazing stuff out there that you can get for free, like this show. That think about supporting, because nobody else is going to do it, right? Yeah. Nobody else is going to want to advertise with us,
Yeah, so. We've become very knowledgeable about what we're doing with our money, and when we do find a product or archive.org had a little money grab the other day, or when they try and advertise for, what is it that Wikipedia does it also for maybe 2 weeks a year, something like that. And we always make sure we give, $5 if that's all we have. But as much as I use Wikipedia just for that little quick, read on something, or as much as we use archive.org, and now with OBS, it's a great piece of software. And when things like this are happening for free, you want to try and help those people out, because that's really what it's going to become is, that's a value society where they're not making this product like Apple makes your iPhone. They're not trying to get $600 from you this week, and then 6 weeks from now they're going to try and get 600 more. And so those companies, and I have an iPhone, I'm guilty of it myself. But you want to try and get away from those companies as much as possible. I'll tell you flat out the way it works with CVS, and part of the reason I left, they had these little ad signs. You've all seen them on shelves that say $5, $10 on sale, whatever. And we had these ad signs that would say buy one, get one 50% off. The problem was that the buy one, get one was in serious 8-point font. It was the tiniest little buy one, get one, and then the biggest 50% off. So, of course, just like any other shopper would, they're going to be walking down the aisles and see a product that looks like it says 50% off. It was seriously anywhere from 5 to 10 times a day that I would get called to the register to talk to a customer that was complaining that they thought that the item was 50% off, and they were charged buy one, get one 50% off. And since they only bought one, they didn't even get any kind of discount. They paid regular price for that item. And talk about frustrating. There's nothing I could do about it. I called corporate and told them your signs are misleading, and they just said, nope, we've done testing and we've put it in markets, and this is what sells product best. I'm like, yeah, of course it sells product best. You're cheating. You're lying to people. You're deceiving them on purpose. Of course this is what's happening. And, so I'll tell you flat out, I haven't stepped a foot in a CVS since I quit. And I never will. That's the kind of company I think people need to realize is out there for themselves. They could care less what they charge you for things. It's not a value kind of place. Tylenol might be $9.99. So the CVS brand, which we pay $1 for, you would think, well, why not charge $2? Make your dollar profit. No, they'll charge $8.99 so that it looks like it's $1 less, which it is, $1 less than the Tylenol, but they're making $7 a pop on it. You don't need to make 700% profit on a product when you're raking in multiple billions of dollars every quarter. Just made me sick. I don't want to be a part of any business like that. That's why we started our bookstore, because we said we don't even charge people anywhere near what the book is worth. We simply have our books up for a value that allows us to ship it and still make a few pennies. But so support us, ubbk.com. 3Bs. It's a weird name, we know. There's unbelievable books, and if you look inside that, it actually says UBBBK. But we do it because we want to pass on knowledge, and we want to pass on good, great writing, and we've got some great books right behind me. I don't know if you can see it right here. These are literary digests from the late 1800s that have been bound, and there's so much information in there that is just incredible stuff. But anyway, I was just saying that that's why we did it, is because I wasn't going to be a part of a business or a company anymore that is out to screw people. And I think a lot of people probably work in jobs right now where they absolutely know that that company screws people. And so I just hope people think about that, because every day we shop at Walmart, every time you shop at Walmart, you're just creating a bigger problem. You're creating more people who are working for $8.50 an hour that are going to be needing government assistance because they're working 40 hours a week and making, what is that, like $18,000 a year? You can't live off that. And we know that. Everybody should know that. But everybody still is happy paying such cheap prices for food. Just make sure you think about what you're doing to the whole picture. It's, because it's getting ugly.
Yeah. So. I think that's right. And ultimately, people need to realize, who are doing those jobs, that they're not being compensated for their work. That's really the truth. People, because, they have a choice to walk away. People shouldn't complain about the minimum wage. Don't work for it if you don't want to work for it. Go off, do something yourself. It's just that the government needs to release its tentacles, on small business and people who want to do that kind of thing. So we've talked about it a lot, and I don't want it to seem like we're just shilling for ourselves, but generally thinking that way, thinking about your work, thinking about what it's worth, what your time is worth, if it's really worth it to keep going in every day, and if there's something else you've always thought you wanted to do, or you'd like to try out when the situation is what it is, or if you're out of work, great time to fail, great time to try something and fail,
And it is a great time. We were able to homeschool my son for 6th and 7th grade, and he got straight A's for those 2 years, and he's never gotten anything close to that in public school, and he did want to go back, so he's back. And that's a decision I let him make, but it also opened our days to where we could do something like that if we wanted to. We get to spend time with each other, and that's worth more than the money I was making at CVS, no doubt. Getting home and being able to see my wife for dinner, she makes dinner, and that's, we go to bed. In the end, you're going to look back at your life and regret caring more about your making money for your corporate, leaders than your family and the people that care most about you. So that's it. We just wanted to kind of mention that, and that's about it. Anything else before we sign off? And we will be back on Thursday, and we will take calls, so join us again 8:00 p.m. Pacific time. Let's see if Nathan's got anything to say before we skedaddle.
Don't be fearless, y'all. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of being successful, and don't be afraid of failing. Failing is good. Failing, that's the only way you'll know if you can do it or not. So that's
Absolutely.
all.
All right, guys. So we'll see you Thursday, and don't forget what it is and what it isn't. Peace.
You got it.
As the title of your book in 1999, unless you knew something like no one's ever going back to the moon. How do you know you're going to be? What if we would have put somebody on the moon in 2005?
Yeah, that is a weird thing for him to say. And the way he talks about God or his spirituality is very Freemason, like a higher power, a creator.
Right, the grand architect,
not necessarily. Right? Yeah, the architect. Mm-hmm.
So let's get on to the news. First, I thought it was funny. You did see Donald Trump have his little tirade with the CNN reporter. You saw that?
I want to see it, actually. I'm waiting for you to play it for me. I don't know that I've seen it.
It's funny. I'm going to play it right now for you so you can check that out. So let's see that.
President-elect, the tweet that you had this morning about are we living in Nazi Germany, what were you driving at there? What are you trying to tell the
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer.
Your volume's on mute.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to AltNews Tonight. I'm Jaron, and my co-host, helping to bring you the latest and greatest real news in a sea of fake news, is Nathan Stoltman from the channel Lift the Veil. Nathan, how are you? That he went on the moon. That's Eugene Cernan, passed away January 16th. That's yesterday, age 82. That leaves 6 remaining astronauts who have supposedly lied to the world about landing on the moon. Aldrin, Bean, Scott, Young, Duke, and Schmidt are left. And, as I've said, the truth of the moon hoax will probably never come out until all of them are gone. That's, at least my opinion. Another thing that I thought was interesting, and have you heard about Werner von Braun's tombstone, Nathan?
I haven't heard anything about his tombstone. I reported on him being a Nazi, but that's about it.
Yeah. His tombstone has Psalms 19:1 on it, which is just interesting for someone who's a, rocket scientist. But Eugene Cernan also left an interesting quote. He said, "There's too much purpose, too much logic. It's just too beautiful to have happened on accident. There has to be somebody bigger than you and somebody bigger than me. I mean this in a spiritual sense, not in a religious sense. There has to be a creator of this universe who stands above the religions that we ourselves created to govern our lives." So, and the last interesting thing about Cernan, do you happen to know the name of his book that he wrote in 1999? His name of his book was...
Are you asking your audience?
I'm asking you if you know, but I don't know if you know.
I don't know.
1999, he wrote the book The Last Man on the Moon. Isn't that weird that you would write that?
Oh my God. I'm all right. Sorry, I think I screwed up your thing. I'm really sorry. I'm bad at that. Your audio comes all through the mic, doesn't it?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully everybody heard it. I saw it. I've done that before. Anyway, what it is. Let's not ruin the mood.
No, let's not.
It's good to see everybody. It's Tuesday, right?
It is Tuesday.
It's pizza day.
It's the 17th, I believe, of January.
Yeah.
2017. So how about it?
I'm excited.
Me too. Welcome to AltNews Tonight. We're going to be bringing you the news, giving you the need-to-know info, and breaking down the stories that we think deserve it. First up, I did want to cover. There's a couple people who are no longer with us. The notable deaths of the week, and last week we lost Tommy Alsop. You know who that is? On January 11th, at age 85, mostly known for his losing of the coin flip, and which actually ended up saving his life because he lost that coin flip to Richie Valens, who ended up joining Buddy Holly and Big Bopper on that flight that ended all three of their lives. And, you know, there's actually rumors out there that those deaths were all hoaxes. Not sure if you have heard that before, but that is the rumor. And you have to research that, but rest in peace. And also passing away was the last man in the world to fake the world, or the last man to fake the world into believing that...
For the consequences, they already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, and by the way, we just found out I was coming down, Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohen.
Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are
is
attacking
terrible.
our news organization.
Your organization
Can you give us a
is
chance
terrible.
to
Let's
ask
go.
a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can
Quiet.
you state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question.
Mr.
Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be...
Can you
No,
give
I'm
us
not
a
gonna give you
question?
I'm not going to give you a
Can you
question.
can you state
You are
categorically,
fake news.
sir?
Go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody? No, Mr.
That is classic. You are fake news.
That is funny. That
Pretty
is
funny.
funny. You know, funny enough, you know, Maxine Waters had something about Trump to say too. And so on the topic of the fake dossier, I went through it on my show. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. I was going to do a separate thing about it. The dossier, apparently written by a British